Hi, I'm Steve Richards. I'm here with Steve Klimke and Jason Reardon, and today we're going to talk about mobility exercises. Mobility exercises are a great way for us to improve flexibility, decrease the potential for injury, and increase our strength and range of motion while we exercise. We always want to make sure that we start off with a dynamic warm-up before our exercising, and then we can still continue to do what we normally do, whether it's a CrossFit workout, work hardening, or just traditional cardio or weightlifting. So Steve Klimke is going to go ahead and talk about the importance of mobility and why we want to do it at the fire station.
So mobility is a great thing to do, movement in general, any day that you're feeling up to it. I'm going to use a specific example. Let's say you're on shift and had a very rough night, your energy's low, you're feeling fatigued, not ready to go after a full workout. What you can do is supplement with a mobility sequence, which is a little bit less effort and a higher reward, kind of a sweet spot, so to speak, to be in. So today with Jason, I'm going to use the example of how mobility can play into your regular workouts as well. So Jason's going to work on his squat and his deadlift today. Jason's new to squat and deadlifting, so his range of motion isn't going to be quite where it needs to be for him to safely do the movements. So Jason, show me an unsafe squat position. So there you can see his knees are forward, his heels are raised, his back's bent over. Just generally not a good position to be in under load. So what can we do about it? We can do some hip and ankle mobility sequences. So I want to show you just a few right here. The first thing Jason's going to do is go into an active bottom of squat position. So go ahead and go down. He's going to be upright in posture. He can go as low as he needs to or as low as he's able to. The point is, with any mobility sequence, you want to go to your own personal end range of motion, not beyond. So this isn't something you're working and grinding through, you're gritting through. It should be nice and comfortable to whatever pace your body's allowing. All right.
Some key points that we want to take a look at. Again, we should not be having any pain, and we want to take a look at how the knee is over the toe, whereas in his previous position, the knee was forward of the toe. Okay, so we want to actually come back, have the knee forward of the toe. We have a nice flat back, and the chest is up.
So that's great, Jason. At the bottom of that squat, too, you want to be moving. This isn't a static stretch. It's more of dynamic, similar to your warm-up. Here's something else we can work on as well, which is ankle mobility. So a lot of times, the limiting factor to getting low in a squat position is ankle movement. So what Jason can do is really just get in, lean, and twist, and turn, and whatever's tight on him, he's going to personally address, and that's how I want each one of you to approach this. You may have some tightness on the inside here. Go ahead and get into it. Whatever's going to make your own body flow and get into a more safe position under load is the goal of this movement and mobility. Okay? So he's going to work both sides. Now, after all that, let's say Jason still is not able to get into a bottom of squat position safely. Come over here. What we're going to do is work with the progression. So in order to help him get, we'll use just this mat. Okay? So Jason, come put your heels on that mat and then go into the bottom of squat and hold and work into it. Move around. What I suggest you do is at least 30 seconds of work in this position before attempting to lift any weight. Okay? Ideally, you want to be able to come off the mat, get feet flat, and be in a safe position before you actually go into load.
And the reason why that this is important is because when we are on medical calls, we're constantly squatting down. We're squatting down to take vital signs, to assess our patient, to grab something out of the box. And if we're in this squat position and we need to grab for a blood pressure cuff, we want to have good mobility so we're not tweaking our knee or our hips or anything of that nature. This also comes into play on the fire ground if we have to squat down and pull hose, or when we're doing a search and rescue, if we have to squat down and reach out for somebody, we have that mobility in our hips, our knees, and our ankles.
We're going to jump from the hips and ankles to our shoulders now. All right, so we're going to assume that we're going to be doing some sort of overhead pressing. On the fire ground, clearly several activities we do are overhead, pulling, sealing, using the chainsaw certain times, grabbing a 5-inch supply and connecting it. There are so many different examples that we do every day on the fire ground where overhead mobility, movement, and strength is critical to your long-term health and safety. So Some of the things we're going to show you today are working with the bands. So Steve, if you want to come over and walk them through a couple of the band things we can do.
Okay, so every station should have these bands. We have 3 different levels. We've got black, which is the easiest resistance. We've got purple, which is the middle, and then green, which is our most resistance possible. What we want to do is attach this to something steady, like a fire truck, a pull-up bar, something like that. And then Jason, what he's going to do is he's going to lean forward at this point. Again, he's got a flat back, his knees are over the toes, he's in a good position. He's going to keep this arm straight, and what he's going to do is just move his shoulder through a circle, okay? And if you just take a look at his shoulder, he's moving it forward, up, around, and back. And what this does is it strengthens the shoulder girdle, the rotator cuff, and some of your back muscles. And he can do this in both directions, okay? What you might find is that we get some sticking points, and that's a point where you might hear a clicking or you feel some tightness in the shoulder. And what we want to make sure is that we differentiate between a pain and an injury, okay? So if something hurts and Jason stops, that pain should go away. And if it does, we're okay. If that pain lingers, even just for a little bit, then we need to stop what we're doing, because the last thing we want to do is get ourselves hurt, okay? When Jason's done doing both shoulders on this, there's 2 different ways that we can open up the shoulder, get more mobility. We want to keep tension on this band. Jason's going to come out to the side and he's going to rotate away, okay? And he's opening up the shoulder and the pec, keeping tension on the band. The next exercise he can do is rotate into the band, and you should feel this in the back of the shoulder. Okay? And what this does is it increases your flexibility, it increases your range of motion, it elongates the muscle while it's under tension, which is really what we're trying to do anytime we do a mobility exercise. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is shoulder dislocates. And this is, again, something that we want to do with a broomstick, a PVC pipe, or the black band. We want to have very little resistance on this because, again, we're just working on range of motion. And so Jason's going to go ahead and put the band in his arms. He's going to bring it up and over to the back side, and Steve's going to focus on some key points.
Notice that Jason's elbows are locked up, and the bottom of his elbow is pointing up towards the ceiling. His shoulders are active, and what that means is his shoulders are pressing through this movement, or another way for you to match that is pulling out. So there's tension being created. Then he's going to basically be dislocating and rolling his shoulder girdle back to the bottom range of motion and going up in the same sequence, just reverse. Notice Jason was active the entire time throughout this movement. Now, if you do use a broomstick or a PVC pipe, you can actually go all the way forward in the movement when you have weight on it, and all the way back. With the band, don't worry about the full range, just go from the top to the back. And I suggest starting here versus using weight. So again, relating this to exercise and your safety in the station, if you have a little ouch going on with your shoulder and you're going to be doing any overhead movements or shoulder work, mobility is a perfect place for you to test and retest. So you can start out, use the bands, work through any little grinding you have that's not painful, get into the proper range of motion, and then actually go under load and start working out. The last thing we'll show you, actually 2 more things, right? Jefferson curl?
Yeah, so we also talked about deadlifting, and Jason's new to deadlifting, and even though we might not deadlift weight, we do this every time when we're at on shift. This is equivalent to picking up a patient on a backboard. This is equivalent to picking up hose and having to move it out of the way. It's equivalent to picking up our med boxes, okay? So what we're going to do, Jason's going to go ahead and pick up the bar, and this Jefferson curl, excuse me, is just meant to increase mobility in the spine. What he's going to do is he's going to concentrate on moving one vertebrae at a time, so he's going to roll his head forward. When his chin is to his chest, he's going to roll his shoulders forward, and then he's going to go ahead and drop down, keeping his legs straight. It's very important for you guys to remember that this is terrible deadlift form. What we're working on is mobility and working on strengthening the hamstrings as well as increasing mobility in the spine. And that way, if while we pick up that patient, if they jerk on the backboard and we have to move a direction or another to maintain balance, our spine has the mobility necessary so we don't injure our backs. So Jason's going to come back up one vertebrae at a time.
And notice how Jason's legs are completely straight. That's a key performance point in this Jefferson curl. You're also going to be improving your hamstring strength and flexibility within this movement. So for Jason, he's going to go ahead, he's going to hinge at his hips, he's going to press his chin to his shoulder. He's rolling down one vertebrae at a time, stacking them. And he's going to drop down to where he's comfortable right now. He's not shaking, he's not grinding. He's at the bottom end of his range of motion where he'll hang out, take a breath, exhale, and then he's going to go in reverse. So he's going to start by stacking his lowest vertebrae, the next on top of the next, until he slowly comes out of this movement. I would suggest starting with 8 to 10 reps of maybe a 15-pound bar.
Yep, lightweight is the key on this. Again, it's just mobility. We need just enough weight so we can actually get some contraction in the muscle. So Jason's going to go ahead and put this down, and the last thing we're going to do is work on some shoulder range of motion. And while we're doing this, again, this is something that we can do either when we're tired and we don't feel like doing a regular workout, or something that we can do post-workout. And so Jason, we have a bar with some weight on it. And Jason's he's going to stand underneath the bar so this bar digs into his trapezius muscle, and he's just going to go ahead and raise his arm and try and get a full range of motion. Now this is something that is very uncomfortable, but what it does is it allows your muscles to relax. Go ahead and lower your arm. It allows your muscles to relax, and you will be able to see that you have greater range of motion. So now when you need to lift that K12 up to eye level to cut open that TP cut on the door, or if you need to raise a 35-foot ladder up overhead, we have the proper range of motion for this. Last thing I want to leave you with is if you guys have any orthopedic injuries, if you have any pain, remember the Ouch program that could be signed up on the wellness page. And we will also have a link on the wellness page to all of these exercises so you guys can continue to do this at the station.